Hi everybody, welcome to Boxing Time. On this channel you will learn a lot of news from the world of boxing. So here we go. Eddie Hearn says Anthony Joshua vs. Otto Wallin fight has a rematch clause for their headliner on December 23rd at the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's a bit surprising that Joshua would have a rematch clause for this level of opponent, considering that the 33-year-old heavyweight fringe contender Wallin can't punch and is considered by many fans as a step down from AJ's last two tune-up opponents Robert Helenius Jermaine Franklin. Why does AJ need rematch clauses? Hearn's excuse for AJ having a rematch clause for the Wallin fight is that he's the biggest star in boxing, which many fans would disagree with. Even if that were true, why a rematch clause for this level of opponent? It doesn't make sense. Even if Joshua were to lose, Wallin wouldn't be going anywhere. What other options would he have? Tyson Fury already beat him, and Deontay Wilder wouldn't waste his time fighting him because US fans wouldn't want to see him against Wallin. Unfortunately, rematch clauses are a fact of life for Joshua and part of the standard thing for him, which is sad because he should be confident enough to fight without them. He fought the tub of lard Andy Ruiz twice and Oleksandr Usyk twice. The boxing public could live without AJ's rematches against guys who shouldn't have ever beaten him in the first place if he were the real deal. The fact that Joshua is losing to fighters like Usyk Ruiz shows that he's not a great talent and never was from the get-go. He's just some guy that the Brits thought was great after he was gifted a gold medal in the 2012 Olympics after winning 4 consecutive questionable decisions against these fighters: Roberto Camaro, Arslanbek, Ivan Dichko, and Zhile Zhang.
Why isn't AJ fighting Wilder on December 23rd? We got approached about a fight, which was Otto Wallin. It was 6 weeks till the fight. He accepted that fight.
Hearn doesn't say who approached him for Joshua to fight Wallin instead of Wilder. If the Saudis wanted this fight, Hearn should have asked them why they would have this awful matchup. Also, it's risky for Joshua because even this type of opponent could potentially beat him. If Joshua is losing to guys like Usyk Ruiz, he could get beaten by Wallin as well. And if that happens, it's pretty much career over outside of the UK. Yeah, we know the British fans are forgiving of their fighters and will continue to purchase their fights on PPV regardless of how many times they get beaten. For example, look at 39-year-old journeyman Derek Chisora. He's got 13 losses, yet he's still headlining on PPV in the UK. It's unbelievable, but so sad.
But also, from there, we all know what the plan is. Like, we all know what they want. We all know what we want, which is, of course, the fight with Deontay Wilder. So they've both got to win, and we'll work quietly behind the scenes whilst everyone's preparing to fight, and hopefully by the time they're both victorious on December 23, we know what the plan is.
Joshua is the biggest star in the UK, but not the world. He's down below fighters like Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford, Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, and David Benavidez in the US. Joshua has got to let his hands go in this fight because Wallin will move around all night and pick him apart with his pesky jab to soften him up. If AJ gasses out in the second half of the fight, Wallin might even knock him out. In a predictable move, former undisputed lightweight champion Devin Haney will be vacating his remaining 3 titles at 135 to focus on becoming a 2-division world champion against WBC 140 pounds champion Regis Prograis on December 9th, then moving up to 147 to battle for one of the belts. Haney is too big to return to the 135 pounds division, and there's no one for him to fight that would bring him a big enough payday to put his body through torture and draining down to make weight. Devin has already named the fighter he wants to face at welterweight for one of the soon-to-be vacated or stripped titles, saying he wants to fight Keith Tim Thurman. Obviously, Haney isn't going to tangle with newly elevated IBF 147 pounds champion Jaron Ennis because he's not crazy. Haney is a risk-taker, but he's not going to take a fight that he can't win. He's what you'd call a shrewd risk-taker. That is to say, Haney is an opportunist. Hence, he's targeting the 34-year-old Prograis for his WBC 140 pounds belt rather than messing with IBF champ Subriel Matias. Prograis looked awful recently, winning a 12-round split decision against second-tier fighter Danielito Zorrilla last June. That will be a winnable fight for Haney, as the 35-year-old former WBA/WBC 147-pounds champion Thurman will have been out of the ring for 2 years by the time the fight and should be old and active enough for Devin to defeat him. Haney says there was no point in him returning to the lightweight division because his efforts to set up a fight with the superstar, Gervonta Davis, had come up empty, and that was the only fighter in that weight class that he wanted.
I did everything at 135 that I could. The biggest fight for me was making that Gervonta Davis fight, and his side showed no interest in making the fight. I've outgrown the division, so now I make my quest to 140 to become a 2-division champion, against WBC light welterweight champion Regis Prograis on December 9th.
It's surprising that Gervonta Davis's management wasn't interested in putting together a fight with Haney, but perhaps they're going to continue to match their fighter tank against the same type of opposition they've always done to keep him safe so he can keep bringing in money.
And after this fight, I look to become a 3-division champion and move up to 147. If I'm successful in this fight, against WBC 140-pounds champion Prograis.
Terence Crawford reiterated today that he is only interested in a mega fight against Canelo Alvarez, a rematch with Errol Spence, and then he's retiring. The unbeaten former 2-division undisputed champion Crawford made it clear that he's not interested in fighting the talented newly crowned IBF welterweight champion Jaron Ennis or fighting Jermall Charlo. Crawford says a fight with Boots Ennis wouldn't be a mega fight, so he's not interested in facing him. As for former undisputed junior middleweight champion Jermall, Crawford says his performance against Canelo in his one-sided defeat rules him out as someone he's interested in facing. Crawford didn't say what he'd do if Canelo chose not to grant his wish for a fight, as he'd already let the media know that he was not going to fight him. Canelo doesn't see how he gains from fighting a guy 3 weight classes below him. Canelo took a lot of flack from boxing fans for choosing to defend his undisputed super middleweight championship against 154-pounds fighter Jermall last September, who had to come up 2 divisions to face him. If Crawford moves up to 154, it would still be a no-win situation for Canelo because he just fought a 154-pounder in his last fight, and no one gave him credit. Perhaps the only way Crawford can get a fight with Canelo is if he bites the bullet and moves up to 168 to fight one of these fighters to earn the shot properly: David Morrell, Demetrius Andrade, David Benavidez, and Dmitry Bivol.
Jerron, he in one place, I'm in another. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm looking for mega fights right now. And right now, that's not a mega fight. So, you know what I mean? That's my standpoint on it. I'm looking to fight guys like Canelo. You know, that's pretty much it, man. And the rematch with Spence. And that's it. That's over with for me.
Crawford's emphasis on only wanting mega fights puts him in a situation where he doesn't have many options if he can't get the Canelo matchup that he craves. If Canelo continues to say no, where does that leave Crawford? Since Crawford has ruled out fighting Jaron Ennis Jermall Charlo, that leaves just Canelo the Spence rematch before retiring. If Crawford is willing to move up to 168, he can accept the invitation from David Benavidez's father, Jose Sr., to face the Mexican monster, and would be a mega fight. It would be one that would be difficult for Crawford to try to win, but it would make him a lot of money and put him in a better position to get the fight with Canelo. This would have been a good opportunity today for Crawford to let the media know that he was interested in fighting the Benavidez versus Andrade winner or the winner of the Jermall Charlo versus Jose Benavidez fight. Perhaps Crawford doesn't consider those guys as being big enough fights for him to take the risk of facing them. Fighting any of those guys would be huge for Crawford. Jose Benavidez Jr. dropping Spence in sparring takes away some of the shine from Crawford's win over Errol last July and suggests that he's not the same fighter since his car crash in 2019. The boxing public is still giving Crawford credit for his victory over Spence, but it's clear that a big reason for his looking so good against him was the car accident. Crawford didn't look good in his previous fights against David Avanesian, Kell Brook, Egidijus Kavaliauskas, and Sean Porter. Subscribe. Please like and comment. This is very important for the development of the channel. See you later.